So my job was I would stand at the door and say, bitte warten, and then du kannst reingehen. But you know what? I have no idea what du kannst reingehen means. And all the old ladies come up to me and they're like, Sie können reingehen. And I'm like, okay, lady.
It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean. Welcome to the show. And you can visit the germanyexperience.de website for more information about the show and get in touch with me directly, info@thegermanyexperience.de. Now, unfortunately, I am terrible at answering my emails quickly, but I do answer them. That is what you need to know. I eventually get around to answering my emails. It just might take a little while. And I just replied to some emails that were sent to me like from the beginning of January. So I do get around to it. Just send me something if you've got to say something, info@thegermanyexperience.de. And, maybe I'll get back to you within a few weeks, maybe a month. It shouldn't be more than that. Now, my guest this week is originally from Ontario, Canada, and she came here to record an album and play shows because she's a musician, and both plans have been derailed by the pandemic. She is Laura Osborne, a super talented singer-songwriter and a painter. You definitely need to find her on Spotify. Take a listen to her songs. Just search for Laura Osborne or click the link in the show notes. Laura and I actually recorded an interview in December of 2021, but due to some audio issues and also Laura's continuously changing situation, it didn't come out. So we tried it again, and I'm very grateful that we did because it's so much fun to chat to her. Laura is here on a youth mobility visa, and she's been having trouble getting a long-term visa because of COVID. So essentially her shows have dried up, which means she's faced with a tough choice between making her music and making a living. And this is something that we talk about in the interview as well. The good news is that we can help her. You can get in touch with Laura on Instagram. She's Laura Osborne Songstress. I'll also put that in the show notes on Instagram. And she'll value every connection that she makes. But if you're moved by her story, you can directly help her out by donating to her album. Just direct message her and chat to her. She's also a painter, by the way, and you can buy some of her prints, just like I did. I bought a print of a fox painting she did, and I absolutely love it. So if you feel like you want to help Laura, get in touch with her on Instagram, direct message her, and find out how you can help. Now, if there's one thing I learned about Laura, is that she's got many great stories just from her time here in Germany. And in our chat, I get the feeling we barely scratched the surface. But we do talk about her escaping the pandemic on an organic farm. We go into some of her other adventures. And, of course, we discuss her time here in Germany. Here is Laura Osborne. You reached out to me when you had COVID.
Yes.
A while back. A few months ago, you were sick with COVID.
Yeah, that was in November. Yeah.
That's right. This was November. And then you wrote to me and said, thank you for your podcast, or that you were listening to the podcast and everything.
Actually,
So that was...
I think I told you you're saving my life.
Yes, I didn't That was the words that you did use. I assume you were being overly dramatic, so I didn't want to redo that. But yes, you wrote to me that your podcast is saving my life. So thank you for that. I'm like, you know what? Just a day's work. It's what I do. It's what I do.
Yeah. I found you in the kitchen while I was trying to make some ginger tea to survive COVID. So thank you.
Oh, well, see, now, if anyone, this podcast does everything. It helps you with life in Germany, and it can get you through COVID. So yeah. I'm like
very sellable. Very sellable.
I don't know why everyone isn't listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
So you wrote to me and you said, you were going through a tough time and that you appreciate the podcast, which means a lot to me because I always love to hear that people are listening, first of all, and that they, that it means that it helps them in some way. But one of the things that I learned very quickly about you is that you're a musician, and then I listened to your songs on Spotify. It's under Laura Osborne, which is your name, and I'll put it in the show notes, and I'll link to that as well on Spotify. And it was when I listened, I was blown away by your music because you're an incredible songwriter, and I really feel like more people need to hear from you. But the reason I'm saying all of this is that you're a musician. I know that you're also an artist. You come from Canada. Why are you in Germany?
I came for the men. No.
Well, there you go.
Sort of. No, definitely not. That's no tragic.
But it's a bonus, right?
It's a bonus.
come for the artistic opportunities and stay for the German men, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. But at this current point of time, I am definitely over this topic at the moment. But yes, that's not why I came to Germany. But yes, I came to Germany in 2012. I had a really amazing opportunity to open for another artist from Toronto, Ontario. Her name was Amy Savin, and we did 14 shows in 17 days all across Germany. Wow. A little one or two in Austria and 1 or 2 in Switzerland. But yeah, it was my biggest tour, my first tour actually for my music.
So your first tour as a Canadian singer-songwriter was in Germany.
Yeah.
So you could call it a world tour, basically.
I just finished my EP and was had this 22-year-old hyper energy and was just like, let's go anywhere. So yeah. And I was like, Germany, I feel like I had to find Germany on the map. I mean, that sounds so lame, but I kind of did,
Yeah. So how was that for you? What was that experience like?
It was actually so good. And I remember thinking actually to myself that I could come back and live there. And and also just I was touring. My heart was open. The only thing that happened that was really bad is I got such bad allergies. I thought I had strep throat and just kept drinking beer. I didn't realize it was a histamine reaction. And I just kept drinking beer and I thought it was helping, but it wasn't. And then I had this amazing scratchy throat for the tour and was like, and everyone was like, wow, cool voice. And I was like, it's allergies.
This is not how I normally sound.
Yeah.
This is my European voice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
There's a fine line I find as a singer where your voice sounds very cool from a cold, but it can actually cross over to being hoarse and completely useless. But if you can get it at that point from allergies or colds, it actually enhances it, just makes it sound so much better.
Totally. We should try to bottle that somehow,
that cold voice.
Yeah.
Erkältet voice, I don't know.
Cold voice virus.
Cold voice virus, but not too virusy that you can't sing anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. We'll have to work on the marketing. The marketing's a little shaky at the moment. We'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
So you obviously had enough of a good time because then you came here, but you went back after that tour. You didn't stay in Germany, but now a few years later or many years later, you're back here. So how did that happen?
So my other job at home was I was a hairstylist. I owned a business, so I did music, but music is my passion. And I went back into work, but I had gone through a pretty major depression, really bad. And also I just stopped songwriting. I had a very significant relationship I was in had ended. And I had just gone through some stuff that, I don't know, I wasn't feeling creative. It was really challenging to get back into any kind of music that was close to that experience. I think honestly too, that experience was so powerful and so amazing. Being in Europe, I came home and I think part of me deflated a bit. Just being honest,
Yeah. Because nothing can live up to that feeling of being on tour and in a new country.
Yeah. And also, I think the momentum during that time too, if you just come off a tour, then you don't know if you should be writing again. And then, so it takes some time to really write for a second album.
Yeah. So then you just decided at some point that you'd gotten away from songwriting. You maybe weren't feeling so inspired anymore, and you felt like Germany would be the answer.
Yeah, well, what happened is in 2018, I got a phone call from my old tour manager, and he was basically like, hey, it's been 6 years. Where have you been? Germany misses you. We talk about you. There's no music. There's no nothing. And I actually felt pretty ashamed of that. It's one of those, I know you're a musician too. You kind of go through that phase, that part of you that's I know there's nothing to show for the last 6 years, but he said to me that Germany wanted me to come back. So they had a full week tour booked for me with another Canadian musician who's a jazz artist. And that time for me was incredible. I actually feel like that catapulted me out of some pretty dark depression and into some really amazing hope. If I'm, really reminiscing on that time. And Germany felt good. It felt really good.
Yeah. So you came and you started playing shows pretty much straight away, and working on, I assume, working on new music as well, right?
Well, during that time, I decided to book another tour by myself in 2019, and that's when I met my producer in Berlin, and I loved Berlin so much, and that's when I knew, okay, January 2020, I was like, okay, I'm starting to work on a new album. I found the producer I love. I want to work with him. And it just, everything fell into place and everything made sense for me to just try and get a visa and stay. So,
Okay.
and then the pandemic hit 2 months later.
I was going to say January. I always get that horrible feeling when people tell me good things are happening in their stories at January 2020. And I'm like, that is about to change in like February, March of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. So you just made the decision to get the visa. What kind of visa did you get?
So I actually got a youth mobility visa. So
Okay.
this is actually cool. So what I did is I went to the visa office and I got all the contracts that I could. So I actually ended up signing with a company called Roller Music, who they help Americans come over to Europe and get tours. So basically by the end of 2019, I had found this company, found a producer, and decided, was applying for my visa. And this visa, you know about the youth mobility visa, it's a working holiday, but they gave me permission to freelance. And one of the coaches that I worked with said, Laura, they don't do this. And it's like, normally they don't do this. And it was such a blessing for me to be able to have this because it saved my ass during Corona, when Corona came. You know, it was just, So that's the visa I got. Elbenwels. Okay, how do we say this? Elbenwelser Arbeites hat. That's so bad. Oh my God. But I don't even know what that
I'm not even helping you. I'm just letting you fly with this one. You're on your own here, Laura. I'm just going to watch you crash and burn with this.
No. It's so bad. I know I've been speaking English too much the last 2 weeks, but.
Okay. And then, obviously you didn't stay on that visa then.
No, I have stayed on this visa. So what happened was March came and I had to renew it. And I decided to go for a full-time freelancing visa, but I actually asked them if I could stay on this visa, which you're not supposed to do. But so they gave me an extension of 6 months to stay on the visa and prove that I could be a freelancer. Because basically I was like, hey, it's Corona. I'm losing my shows. I'm losing everything, but what do you want me to do? Like, there's nothing's open, and that was last March. You remember how bad last March was?
Yeah, it was bad.
So, So anyways, they gave me an extension. They made me reapply again after the extension in December, and then gave me another 6-month extension. So we're talking like 2 extensions and no full visa for a second year. So I've been on an extension for a year.
And that must lead to all kinds of uncertainty and difficulties. But we'll get to that. I'm going to come back to.
I think last time I was like, man, the Ausländerbehörde don't.
Yeah, you were not pleased with the Ausländerbehörde, but I must admit, not many German guests that not many guests that I have on the show are pleased with the Ausländerbehörde. But we'll get to back to that. But so you were here in January 2020, and then the pandemic hit, and you just got in here. Did you think, oh crap, it's time to go back, or what was your reaction?
Well, I just finished the second song for the new album, and I met this guy at one of my shows who's an organic farmer, or his parents were organic farmers. And I had worked a little bit on farms before, and I had some really great experience. And I just thought I need to get out of Berlin, out of the concrete jungle, and go work on a farm because it's basically going to be the best thing for me. So I called this guy, and his parents only spoke German. I'm 2 months into living in Germany. I don't speak any German really well, but I Google Translate and was like, ich willst du kommen zu deine Bauernhof, bitte.
So then you landed up on an organic farm, which was probably the best thing for you at the time because as an Ausländer in Berlin or foreigner in Berlin, you were probably going to be fairly isolated anyway.
Oh yeah, and I have ADHD, so there is no way the dopamine is not flowing.
So you needed to get, and that farm was probably a perfect thing for you.
Yeah.
How did that work out? Would you say it was a good experience overall, being out there on the farm?
It was a mixed bag of many treats, special treats of Germans. So basically, I got really heavily into the German culture because what I didn't know meeting this man was that his family was actually kind of Amish. I mean,
Okay.
I had no idea. I thought I'm working for hippies. It's an organic farm. I felt so shocked, and he didn't tell me. He only sent me pictures of like where I would be staying and the chickens. And like, he also told me that he had 3 brothers. And so he's 24. I just assumed, they're much younger. I don't know why I assumed this. So I show up at Stuttgart. He picked me up in Stuttgart, and I just come from Berlin. And I remember also my phone was on 1% because I'm a ding dong. My phone was on 1%. I was like writing and being like, my phone's on 1%. What do you look like?
Tell me now before it dies.
And like, I couldn't charge anywhere because nothing was open. And it was just, oh my God. So anyways, yeah, I came to the farm and, oh, wow. I mean, so I showed up, and then there was like 4 young men over the age of 24, like all sitting in this living room, and they were just saying hello. And I was like, okay, I'm spending the next, my pandemic. I'm starting pandemic with 4 hot German dudes. Like, I'm the luckiest lady in the world. Like,
this sounds like the setup for some kind of reality TV show.
definitely. Oh my God. And like, and the parents were so conservative, like really, really very, very super duper Christian, but even more than, yes, like I said, kind of Amish. And so I'm surprised they let me sleep next to one of the boys' bedroom.
Okay. So that conservative, that's how conservative we're talking.
Oh yeah. Like I was, I didn't wear my shorts some days because I didn't know if it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how,
see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. And what was the work like on the farm? Did you have like a daily routine of going out into the fields and picking things and planting things?
Well, it was March, so there was nothing to plant yet, but they had a farm shop and it was really cute. So my job was I would stand at the door and say, bitte warten, and then du kannst reingehen. But you know what? I have no idea what du kannst reingehen means.
Yeah.
And all the old ladies come to me and they're like, Sie können reingehen. And I'm like, okay, lady. And I'm still got so much North American in me. And I'm just like honestly, sometimes just like, fuck you, man. I'm just trying to do my job. Like, I'm just trying to you can't say that to an old German woman, but really,
No.
They really had a cow about it. And I just thought, oh, get over yourself. I know, I'm so rude, I know, and höflich. Also, yeah, but
that's it. That is hilarious. It sounds like you were
triggering. It's so triggering.
Yeah, it is. It is like you said, just get over yourself. Like, is that the most important thing that we're going to focus in on, like hone in on?
Yeah, really. So it was, anyways, that was my job. But also I reloaded the veggies in the mornings. I loved it. So one of the boys I thought was very beautiful. And like during the pandemic, it was a tough time. But like, honestly, this strapping young lad, he gave me reason to get up in the morning. I mean, I loved going to breakfast. Oh my God, I remember sitting there. He has a big, beautiful German blue eyes, and I was just like, wow, okay, so everybody else is suffering and I'm in love.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really amazing. Yeah, and they made me read the Bible at every single meal. Like we had 4 meals a day. Which is okay for me. I'm really happy, but it was so intense. We all took out the Bible and we all had to read. And so I had to read very seriously in German, and, I couldn't really read German, but yeah, this is how conservative the family was, like the boys didn't clean up. I cleaned up because I'm the woman.
Right. So completely traditional values.
Yeah.
If you want to put it.
But I didn't allow them. Sometimes I said, hey, you put the gobble in the dishwasher. You put the fucking gobble.
You're quite capable of putting gobble in a dishwasher. Come on. So, and then, but how did that end? Was it just a case of the contract coming to an end and then you moving on?
Ooh, okay. So actually, it's a pretty tough story. One of the young boys was quite ill, and I didn't know. So when I came to the farm, he ended up having, I want to say, if for everyone out there who would understand, kind of like a bit of a borderline. he was manic depressive, and so he would end up yelling at the kitchen table to the boys like that he was going to kill them in German. I had no idea. And so it got so violent that I had to end up saying to the mother, listen, we need to get him some help. So I stayed and I helped the mother get some help. And basically at the end of it, though, I think she couldn't handle having me there anymore because she told me actually in German, she said, I've prayed about who my boys are going to marry and it's not you.
Okay. Well, there you go.
and really, I think she couldn't handle having me there anymore because she was too scared that they would fall in love with me, this heathen of a woman, this wildly free temptress,
and not even from Germany, from Ausland.
Oh, basically. Yeah. But she was really serious. She sat me down and, so, yeah.
Gave you the chat.
Yeah.
All right. And then you ended up, because now you're in Stuttgart, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was that the next step from the farm?
No, actually. So from the farm, oh man, it's been since 2020, I gotta go back because we're already in February. But so from the farm, I ended up coming back to Switzerland for a little while just for a few days because I finally the borders opened. And I was waiting for my apartment to be ready in Stuttgart. And then I ended up being on a horse farm for 3 weeks because I like volunteering on farms, and a horse stepped on my foot and I had got nerve damage really badly.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But I will say that I was dating a man at the time who had a motorcycle, and I was taking the motorcycle around the Grimsel Pass. So it wasn't all that bad.
Swings and roundabouts, I guess, ups and downs, and everything has an upside. But it sounds like you've had a real adventure in Germany, just from what I'm hearing, because it seems like you're obviously a very spontaneous person, and like you said just now, free-spirited. So you obviously are open to sort of new adventures and new things happening to you. It sounds like.
Yes, and I wasn't always like this. Germany feels safe enough to do this. Coming. Okay. I think some of us who grew up in different countries, there's something about being here, feeling safe, where you feel like your nervous system feels like it's willing to try more things, or it was a really wonderful feeling for me to just feel free to, even actually I hadn't dated a lot, and I decided to start really dating in Germany. I thought, oh, why not? Some safe, calm German men, it's probably fine.
All right. So that was that. And then at some point you've ended up in Stuttgart.
Yeah. I mean, I've been traveling since Stuttgart. Yeah. So I was in Stuttgart for a little while, and then I had shows in different places. So if I had to go to different shows, also because I was recording the album, I just was living in Berlin for the last 3 months. So I've been subletting here and there. So I haven't stayed in Stuttgart, but that's where my home is. Yeah. That's where my Anmeldung is. If we're going to get real talk here. The board, Ausländer board already knows it.
Finally talking about terms that we understand, like Anmeldung. That's where my Anmeldung is.
Yeah.
And what about what's happening with the album?
Well, right now it's on pause, unfortunately. So we finished 4 songs. It's really exciting. Actually, I'm proud. Some people got to finish their albums in the pandemic. I took my time, and we finished 4 songs out of 10. We got 7 done, 3 demoed, but it's on hold. It's on hold, unfortunately, because honestly, right now, some of us musicians have to decide to live and eat and not do the music. And unfortunately, that's just the way it's going at the moment. It's really tough, but yeah.
So let's talk about this. Overall, your feelings must be positive towards Germany, right? You're wanting to stay here for a little longer.
Yeah, I would really when we did the podcast, I think in December, right? Yeah, we did it right before Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had different feelings then that I do now because of what's happened with the visa process. And I was really willing to push it and stay for the last 2 years. But I don't know, if I'm being really honest with you, I'm really burnt out at the moment. Just being honest with everyone listening, it's going through the Ausländerbehörde and really having to prove, but also so many, I lost all my shows for November, December. I lost a huge chunk of money. And also bookers right now, they're really tired. They don't want to book. All of us are just tired. And I think I don't want to say that this is relating to my Germany experience, but unfortunately it is. And I'm trying not to see Germany this way because Germany is so much more than this situation I'm in. I mean, there's the Aldi, there's, didn't get that joke. The Aldi, sorry, the Aldi.
It went over my head.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm sorry. Well, it's because I love the Aldi, I said Aldi. That's so bad. I'm becoming Canadian again. Like the grocery store lines. But I have to remember all the incredible, amazing thing that Germany has offered me. But right now, I'm really holding this tough thing in front of me. But yes. So that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, and I can't remember if you told me before we started recording tonight, or if you've said it in this call. But essentially, you said that you had an extension on that visa, and then you've gotten a second extension for another 6 months. So that's got to feel like really uncertain to you. Like that is really must be messing with your mind.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it makes me feel like I'm also not a good person. There's a lot of shame that I had experienced with this because I know that I'm a very capable musician, entrepreneur, and I know that, but I feel right now that I am my self-confidence is so low because I just received this letter at December after I had given all my documents. And even I think I played more shows than some people, and I had ended up getting 2 scholarships as well, which I thought was quite a good job.
Should be enough.
Yeah. And they basically just said to me, it's not enough, and that I needed to leave the country right away or be deported or get a lawyer. And the reason they are doing this, the lawyer told me, is because Germany is trillions of dollars in debt. They really had to communicate to the Ausländerbehörde that they cannot let people live on Corona aid or anything like that. And for freelancers, basically, any new freelancers coming in that don't apply in Berlin, it's just going to be tough. This is what I mean, not to discourage people, but this is just what I'm hearing. So yeah, not to be a downer, but.
Well, that's like, how do I get this back up? How do I get this podcast episode back up? No, I'm not. I'm kidding. This is exactly what I wanted to hear about. I wanted to hear about the struggle because I feel it's like that's really one of my favorite reasons that people come to Germany is people like you who want to do some kind of creative thing. I've spoken to several people in the past who wanted to come here to dance or wanted to come here for a music career and so on. And I love that. I think it's a great thing to do. And it's so disheartening to hear that there's this decision that you now have to make about, is it worthwhile you staying here in Germany?
I know. Yeah. So anyways, it's been a cup of tea. Let's just say, and it's just been exhausting,
Yeah.
Sometimes they didn't even give me a face-to-face interview, sometimes you just wish.
And you kind of want to say that this is a life that you're talking about. It's basically your livelihood and your life that the least that they could do is give you a face-to-face interview.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I was featured in the Rolling Stones in 2021 in a February issue as a female artist. I mean, that's a massive accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously, no, it doesn't financially prove anything to the Germans. But it still proves that the German culture is interested to really accept me and have me. And I just wish some of that stuff would count. I really wish, at least, at least I'm not someone who's coming in and has no fan base, no community. Like, you know what I mean? It's so different for me.
Yeah. And like you said, you had works, you had contract and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So what is it that's making you want to fight it out? I mean, although I guess you're in 2 minds at the moment, but what is it that you think would be worthwhile for staying in Germany for?
Because I worked so fucking hard. I worked so fucking hard for my KSK, my Künstlersozialkasse, my health insurance, because I have really bad allergies, and I really wanted to get some help for that, and I needed health insurance, and I sent my documents were 75 pages. It just.
My God.
I worked so hard in so many things. Maybe as an artist, I'm complaining, but it's like you hand in so much paper, you answer so many stupid pieces of mail, you send so many pieces of post.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, your visa is about to be up, and you're like, oh my God, and now I have to send more posts. It says I'm now ending this. I mean, it's kind of a stupid thing, but it's the work. I worked so hard to be here. Yeah, and also it's so hard to prove something. So, yeah, it's pretty tough.
Yeah. And have you thought about calling it quits despite all of that and going back to Canada?
Yes. I wasn't there with you in December when we had this podcast, but I'm there now. I'm there now because I think actually I need a bit of if I'm being really honest, I need a bit of a cultural break. Because I think, and not to sound like annoyed by Germany or anything, I think it's just the straightness, the seriousness, the toughness, the rules, the strictness. And sometimes I just needed to feel the ridiculousness of my own culture at times, the too laid back, too flexible. Sometimes you just need a little bit of home, to ground you again. Yeah, I need a little bit of home to ground me actually at the moment. And I don't like to admit that because I love Germany and actually I'm quite happy here with most things.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I think I have a feeling that your feelings would probably be different if they had given you some kind of visa, some kind of thing to work that, okay, I'm definitely going to be here for another year or another 2 years and you can work on the music stuff. I think it's just really bad luck that you had a pandemic in between as well.
Yeah. And, honestly, I would like to talk about this just for a second and just say the other thing that happened was in the music industry, unfortunately, females are really still struggling with the male-dominated industry. And unfortunately, I also had 2 situations happen where the people that were working for me, they were older men and they were married and had inappropriate feelings for me. Well, not inappropriate, but they had feelings for me. And this situation ended some of my ability. It blocked my ability to continue some of the work I wanted to do out here. And honestly, I want to be maybe a little bit sharp on this one. Just be like, some of these men need to wake up and realize it's 2022 and just be like, I know some of these German men are still living in the 70s with their 70s music, but like, dudes, like women are coming in, like sit down. Like sit down, please. I'm gonna get in so much trouble for that. But I want to say, like, this has affected my career as a musician lately. These men express like this undying interest or this, for my music, and it wasn't actually about my music; it was about me, and that sucks.
And that's unfair. That is unfair. That is unfair.
Yeah, they kind of put the responsibility on me to be like, I have feelings for you. You need to do something about this. And I'm like, no, you need to do something about this.
It's got nothing to do with me. It's your thing.
Yeah. And even I was about to work with a label in Berlin. And this broke my heart in a little few ways because I know I'm not the only musician. But when it affects your visa, because this would have made my visa process so much easier.
Yeah.
It's really affected. Yeah. So the last year has not been the easiest.
Yeah, you've had a rough time. You've had this kind of issue impacting your ability for your art. You've had COVID, where it sounded like you had a really, really bad experience with COVID for quite a few weeks, and then you've had visa issues. So you have not had a great time, Laura.
Yeah. Sometimes I think though, like I did my best. I'm not always a person who's able to maybe like manage the administrative stuff well, and I think Germany demands that you really need to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And actually I had some amazing help from some Germans that were really helping me, but I also was just when you're alone, when you feel alone and you have to do paperwork for Germany
and a lot,
and then after you do the paperwork you can't like go out for a beer with your friends or like we say shoot the shit, life, it just becomes sad and disappointing. You're just like, oh, come on, why is everything so serious?
So the question that I have for you, Laura, is if listening, like, I think, what would you need? You need some support. You need to be able to show you're getting shows booked, and you need to show that sort of from a music point of view that something is happening. Is there any way that the listeners of this podcast could help you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, definitely you're welcome to donate to the music. Right now, I'm doing these art prints that are reflecting the music. I shared with you before, Sean, that I experienced something called synesthesia, which is really a beautiful gift. I love to share with people. So
just explain what that is for people who might not know.
I think I'm saying it wrong. It's synesthesia. It's a hard word for me. Synesthesia. But we know it's synesthesia. Anyways, when I listen to music, I see color really strongly. And so when I was kind of working on a project of playing albums and just painting to them and seeing what came through. And then also that's something I wanted to do for others. If they had a favorite song or they had a favorite album, and I just paint what's happening for me. And also it's a gift for them or whatever. So yeah, I'm really happy I'm doing some commission work at the moment with that. And also, honestly, if people want to connect me to good labels, good management, like people who care about females in the industry not getting like bulldozed over by dominant, creepy men.
Yes, that and hopefully someone is out there that could help. But yes, and just come back to your prints. I bought a fox that you painted, and I love this fox print. It's going to go up in my Arbeitszimmer actually within the next week or so. So yeah, go look.
Because I could say some things.
Oh my God, I'm not even trying that, Laura. I'm not even trying that.
Well, I just said Aldi.
That's why it flew past me. I was like, I don't know what she. What? Okay.
I'm gonna get off this podcast and be like, what the hell?
What I wanted to say is find Laura on Instagram and get in touch with her. And there she often shows her prints that she does. And you can order, like I did, you can order from Laura on Instagram and say, I want one of your prints. That would help. And donate to the music. But I guess, how could people donate to the music?
Yeah, so I did have a GoFundMe page up. I will have a Patreon page up. I think at this point, it's really going to be through. It's an awkward topic. It's an awkward subject, but I think I have to set something up for the listeners. However, I'm really happy to just receive a message and direct message and be like, "Hey, we'd love to support your music." And honestly, everything that everybody gives me goes 100% to recording more music. It's so, it's just. I'm so all about that. I'm so grateful when people give, and I want them to know that something is being done with their money.
Yeah. And I honestly want to hear more of Laura Osborne's music. This is a kind of selfish thing for me because what you put up, you've got an EP on Spotify, and then you've got, I think, 3 or 4 songs that you've recorded more recently. I guess that in these German sessions, there's a song called Still Brightness, I think it's called, which I literally listened to for a phase after I met you for about 2 months, where I was listening to the song almost every single day, and I still listen to it very regularly. And I want to hear more Laura Osborne music.
And that's really encouraging. Going through the visa process, sometimes you forget that you're a musician. You just feel like a failed administrative assistant. Really. I'm like, am I still a musician? What's going on?
So when you work out the details of how people can donate, you can let me know, and I will let my listeners know how they can contribute and how they can help. But yeah, find Laura on Instagram, send her a direct message, buy some of her art, and yeah,
that's great. That's awesome. And also, I would really like to say that something that happened to me when I came out to Germany that wasn't happening before is I noticed that there was a lot of middle-aged men coming up to me after the show saying that my music, they cried during my sets, which was a huge honor. And so if you're a middle-aged man listening to this podcast and you need to cry, please put on my music.
Well, if that is not a marketing pitch, then I don't know what is, people. If you're middle-aged, need a good cry. Laura Osborne. That's all we say.
Oh man.
Yeah. So there you go. So I think that was all my questions for you, Laura.
Yeah. No, I just want to say thanks, Sean. You're a big inspiration to me, and I'm super glad you're in Germany because really, your podcast is like I'm pitching now, but like your podcast I think is so helpful for people, and it's a great also community access. I got to know about some of the people you featured, and
that means a lot to me, and I am blushing, and those are very kind words. Laura, thank you so much for joining me on the Germany experience. All the links to everything are in show notes. One thing I will say before I go, Spotify is not enough for artists, by the way. That's the other thing. Like if you've got music on Spotify, so don't think you're helping by streaming on Spotify, because the artists get like a few cents per stream, if that. No, actually it's less than a cent. It's like 0.0 something cent per stream. That's not how we can help the artists. Support the artists directly. If there are local musicians that you're listening to on Spotify or whatever, try and find a way to support them in real life, because they can benefit much more from that than from Spotify.
Yeah. And also I think it's important for people to know, like, if you give like 50 or 100 euros, like that's can be like quite a bit of time in the studio, and like, yeah, it depends where you're going. But like, yeah, just know that the money is like going towards the making more music a lot of times. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, Laura, well, thank you for joining me, and we'll talk again sometime.
Yes, we will. Bye, Sean. Tschüss. Tschüss.
Tschüss. This is a long and protracted goodbye. Bye. Tschüssi. As I said at the beginning of the show, get in touch with her. She's Laura Osborne, songstress. That's it for this week. Music in this episode by my band, 10 Cent Janes. Additional music by Ryan Anderson. Until the end. This is the end. I'll speak to you next week. Auf Wiederhören.